work out the photos among yourself. So thanks for coming out. What we're going to do, we're going to talk for a little bit up here, and then we're going to have time to take a few questions from you guys. The request is, let's keep the questions to this project, please, and not go through your memories of first seeing Pete at the Fillmore or whatever it is that you want to talk about. This is not the forum. We'll talk about the Classic Portfolio project if you have those questions. Think about them while we're up here. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us. And I guess to let's start at the beginning of this curious project. Tell me, Pete, where does this actually begin? What's the start of going to make a classical Quadrophenia record?
Well, first, thanks, Alan, for taking the chair. Alan and I spent part of the afternoon together this afternoon talking for Mojo magazine about songwriting, and it was great. It was really good to do that and to talk about how many different kinds of songwriting there are, really, and how many different kinds of making music. And so, really, with something like Quadrophenia, I think originally it had a function, which was not to save the Who. We were in perfectly good shape. We were filling stadiums, and we were all relatively fit then. We may have been going a bit crazy in our heads, but we were okay. But one thing had happened, which was that we'd lost contact, an emotional connection with our audience, and our audience that were important to us at the time were not an American audience at all. We were able to take our American audience very much for granted, in a sense. They were always there. They'd been with us in a kind of a halcyon zenith of wonderment, which was we arrived with Monterey, we went on to Woodstock, we had Tommy, and so it all exploded very, very quickly. And also with the coming of the Electric Factory, with the Boston Tea Party, the Fillmores, there was a whole new way in America of listening to music, sitting down, approaching it intelligently. We had intelligent music criticism, but the Who, as a band, were lost. And I wrote Quadrophenia just to try to rescue the Who. Where we are, and it worked. It did reconnect us with our audience, I think. Today, Quadrophenia has not only outlasted the Who, but it's changed the function. It's become a piece which, as a piece of music, stands alone. It doesn't seem to need the mod background anymore. It doesn't even really seem to need the Who to be associated with it exactly. When Roger and I play it, as we did on a long tour a couple of years ago here in the States, we play it as though we're concert performers. We play the music, we're very faithful to the music, and we don't add anything to it, we don't take anything away, we just play it, and it seems to work. And it was probably from that I had the confidence to take this a bit further. But where this started was a very simple thing, you know, getting on in age, and I have mountains of music, paper, lyrics, recordings, but I have no written music. I have never written a song down on music. That's always been done by somebody else. And I looked at my oeuvre, and I thought, well, you know, one of the things is that I've written many stories with music, and I would like these to be written down. And I started with Lifehouse. It's how I met Rachel. I started to gather people together. Lifehouse was never finished, so in collecting material for that and getting it down onto paper meant really gathering a whole load of ideas and written stuff and trying to make something. And it came out as a limited edition box called Lifehouse Chronicles. If you've got one, you're very lucky because you'll never see the light again. But one of the things about getting stuff down is that I don't read music, and I can write it, but I'm not very good at it. And here I was, many years later. Rachel came to work on Lifehouse Chronicles with me in 1999. I met her in 96. Funnily enough, we were touring Quadrophenia at the time. and mentioned it in passing, and she said, yeah, I'll have a go at it. We did a few pieces, and it was obvious that she was the right girl for the job. And she then started to make demos for me, and so it was part of an exercise to get it written on paper. I had no conception that this might one day come out as a record or be performed by an orchestra. What I wanted, though, was that if that was ever going to happen at some time in the future, it could happen. It could happen that one day, when all the rock guitarists are gone, and all of the iPads have been burned up by the neutron bomb, there would still be a few really good Jewish violin players who could read the score and perform this piece of music live in the concentration camp. And well, let's hope not. I'm stretching into the future here. And whatever happens, in other words, that the orchestra, the violin, these instruments will prevail. They don't need the kind of technology that we're so used to today, which is really essential for the Who to perform. We go out with 16 trucks. So that's it, really. I wanted it on paper. Rachel, explain how it went from
that was going to be the question, Rachel.
Yeah.
Tell me then, how do you take a record, a rock and roll record, and then go convert it into this sort of a document?
Well, it wasn't something I'd ever done before. I hadn't arranged or orchestrated any rock, really. It had all been classical arrangings, Scarlatti, harpsichord sonatas. I'd done a little bit of kind of orchestral composition for some TV, and it really was just a conversation